Hello, friends. Today is October 17th, 2023. It's a Tuesday, and I'm going to share with you guys a dream that I just had not too long ago. Today, anyway. And at first, I didn't understand. I was like, what is the point of that? What in the world is the point of that dream? And then I got it. So, what happened in this dream? I was back at prom, 1984. Let's see, how many years ago was that? Wow. That was just shy of 40 years ago. 40 years ago. Now, prom 40 years ago was a far cry from the, I don't even know what to call what this is they're doing now. I don't even know what to call this. A display of shamefulness as far as what people are wearing, and the guys looking like overdressed pimps mixed in with a peacock, and then the young ladies just looking like absolute prostitutes, all in the name of fashion and culture. And it's a shame that we've been with the wind like this, but let's get grounded in the Word of God and in righteousness. And hopefully this video will help to that end. This video is about, there wasn't nakedness at my prom because you wasn't getting in. You weren't getting in the venue shamefully dressed. So that's not what this is about. Like I said, this was 40 years ago. 39 years ago to be exact, but who's counting? So in this dream, this dream is about character and women's lib and all sorts of things that should not be. So in this dream, I was back at prom, and it was like after the prom was over, the next day we were going to, it's like a prom weekend. We were going to this place called, it was like an amusement park. Very popular amusement park in the whole state. And so it was a popular Sunday destination after Saturday prom festivities, probably to this day. So what happened in this dream, I was looking at like a poster or some kind of announcement that the school made saying that that they hadn't gotten the reservations or the group rate or group tickets in time. So the portion of the prom that was to take place that Sunday at the amusement park was canceled. And so I was sitting there looking at that, and I was remembering, because even though I was back then in 1984 was the timing of the dream, I had the mind that I have now, so that I was looking back also remembering this, and and knowing that I was also in the future. So I'm thinking, oh wow, okay, it's canceled. But then I had this conflicting knowledge, because what had actually happened is I didn't go to the Sunday afternoon festivities, which was the amusement park. because the guy who I went to prom with ditched me. I don't know who he took or what he did, but he didn't take me. So what happened was, there was so that was the end of the dream. So I'm thinking like, wow, I thought that I didn't know that. I'm thinking this in the dream. I didn't know that the amusement park was canceled. I just thought he didn't invite me. But actually what happened was, he didn't invite me. As far as I know, that was not canceled. Everybody went. I want to say I even probably saw pictures of the people at the amusement park, but I can't, obviously 39 years later, I can't say for sure, but it was not canceled. All right. So what happened was, there was a guy that went to my school. We went to a school in the suburbs where there were not too many black people at that school. I want to say that year there was probably 25 to 30 black people at the school. And this young man, it was not my prom, it was his prom. I was 3 years from graduating, and it was his prom. Very nice young man. Gentleman, I dare say. Never heard a negative thing about his character ever. And he had, his best friend went to the school too. They were best friends. And his best friend went to the prom with a girl from a different school. And I heard tell that this guy had asked several young ladies at our school to go to prom with him. And even some Caucasian girls. And everyone had said no. And not only was he a nice young man, like looking back on it, he actually was a nice looking young man. But the thing was, he was very dark. And, kids being kids, that was what he was known for. Being dark and being a quote-unquote white boy. So he was kind of like somebody who was, okay to pick on. He didn't, run with the crowd, and he ran with his own crowd. He didn't run with he wasn't trying to be among the thugs and none of that. He just did his own thing. And did his schoolwork like we were sent there to do. So after asking, apparently, other people to his prom, he really wanted to go. I remember, I think he either asked me at the bus stop or on the bus. And I don't know if I said I would think about it or if I told him I would go. But eventually, however it went, I did go with him. And like I said, I just didn't think too highly of him just because of bad character. I have bad character. A lack of home training and people teaching you to respect other people. And what to respect about other people. It was shallow. But there was something that he dropped off at my house that pertained to the prom. I don't know what it was, but it was prior to the day of us going to prom. And one of my mother's friends was there. Now, this was a lady from church. My mother and this lady went to church together. Sanctified Holiness Church. And forgive me as I try to recall events from 39 years ago. So the lady's there, and the guy, he comes to the door, like I said, perfect gentleman. He knocks on the door and gives me whatever it was that I needed, or I don't know if it was information or if he just wanted to meet my mom. I don't even remember why he was there. But there was something necessitating him being there at that point. And I was just so rude to him. I was rude to him. Like, taking him, I don't know, just rude. Like, I felt like I was doing him a favor, going to his prom with him because no one else would go with him. And he's, he never rose up. He never retaliated or anything. He just kind of, went with it. And when he left out, the lady that was visiting my mom, I'm going to give her initials so I'll remember later on. Sometimes I make videos and I refer to people and I have no idea who I'm talking about. But her initials were WJ. So WJ, as soon as he leaves out the door, she says to my mom, she is, about me, referring to me, she says she is going to give him the blues. And that pumped my head up even more. And her and my mother laughed about it. And I already was feeling big-headed, or feeling myself, because he asked me. And instead of me being grateful, these tickets are not cheap. The tickets to the amusement park are not cheap. I think the tickets were like $80-something way back then. And this young man, I believe he had he was raised by his mom. And the reason why I say that is because when we took pictures before the event, his father wasn't there. I remember, like, his mom was there, his aunt was there, and some other people were there, but I do not remember meeting his father. So that's why I say that he was not raised. His parents must have been divorced. So so they say to me, oh, she is gonna give him the blues. And they just start cracking up, because they saw that he was a gentleman. They saw that he was nice, and that he was not snapping back at me, with me being arrogant toward him, like I'm doing him a favor. So we go to the prom a few days later, and sure enough, and almost fulfilling their words, like I said, what they said and how they snickered about it almost made me feel like it was something cute to just, dangle this man around and jerk him around and all that stuff, and test his patience. So we went to the prom. Sure enough, I treated him just like they said I would. And now that I'm thinking about it, I basically probably treated him a lot more like that because they said it. I remember he was asking me to dance. I didn't even dance with the man, not one time. I didn't even fully go into the venue, like the dance area. I treated the man like dirt at his prom. So I remember him coming over to me because there was, the music was playing inside the area where the dance floor was. And I really did want to dance. But I was just being stubborn and foolish. And he was like, you know, I see you over here. He was so kind. He said, I see you over here, you know, moving around to the music. You know, why don't you come dance with me? Because nobody's dancing with other people at a prom. It's not like the garbage that we do today. When you came with someone, you stay with them. You chose this person to be your date, so you have someone to dance with. He was hosting me at his event, his prom. And regardless of how many people he asked before me, because I know he asked at least 3 or 4 people before he asked me. At least 3. It doesn't matter how many people he asked. I agreed to fulfill a certain role on a very important night to a young man who spent a lot of money. Because like I said, he came from a single mother. He probably had like a little job, saving up for that or whatever. He could have did anything with his money. I remember he brought me a corsage. Maybe that's what he was doing over there that evening prior to the prom. I don't remember. But he brought it, and I think he might have pinned it on me or whatever. It was very nice. Very, very nice. And he asked me, will you dance? Looks like you want to dance. Would you dance with me? And I'm like, nah. And I should have just told the man, look, I'm really not that great of a dancer. I'm all right, But, I really just, feel too shy to dance in front of these people. So he probably would have understood that better. And he probably could have worked around that, dragged me out there, and, we could have worked with it. But no, I suffered from what is known as bad character. And the 2 women that were with me and witnessed this disaster in the making, I wish they had taken the opportunity to speak with me prior to this prom and give me a better perspective. Give me another way of looking at that situation that could have possibly kept that night from being, the disaster for him that it was. I didn't really care. At the time. So, long story short, prom night ends, next day comes, and we're supposed to go to the amusement park. And when he dropped me off that night, he's telling me, okay, well, we'll see you tomorrow. And he never got out of character. He never said a word amiss to me, even with me ruining his prom. So he's like, okay, well, we'll see you tomorrow. We're going to leave around such and such time. And I'm like, all right, just being ignorant. Next day comes, the time to get picked up comes, the time to get picked up goes. The whole day goes. This guy, they never showed up to pick me up. He exercised his right to have a good time without me. And I don't blame him. And I never blamed him. I never called. I never said, where were you? Why'd you do? I never, because I already knew. I already knew. And I was embarrassed to no end. Just like I embarrassed him that night. So that's why I dreamed that. To be able to pass it on. Probably know young ladies who are in the mind to be half naked, going to prom because of culture, and this is just the thing to do. And me saying cover your body sounds very foreign to them, and they are not in any position to receive any of that. But if you, as a woman, find yourself in the presence of young ladies, it is our duty to pass on to them good character. Just like he behaved like a gentleman, I should have behaved like a young lady. Because that's good and fitting. And they should have, when they saw me display that character of, I'm doing him a favor and, he's going to take whatever I dish out. Somebody should have sat down with me and said, look, this man spent money to go on this evening. This is a one-time event that he's been looking forward to, and you're going to take him out and embarrass him. And that's not something that you would want anyone to do to you. It's not cute. It's ugly. It's unnecessary. And it's not a good look for me. It wasn't a good look for me. And it was strengthening something in me that would lead to bad relationships down the line, would lead to an inability to form healthy relationships with guys down the line. You got the wrong attitude. Now you got to keep in mind the two ladies that were there that would have been in a position to sit me down and teach me my responsibility toward another human being, and that guys have feelings. They were bitter. They were bitter women. One of them's husband turned out he had been having an affair. She was married at the time, and he was having a raging affair with someone on his job. And they eventually got divorced. And of course, my mom, she had a bitter experience in her marriage as well. So their attitude, the attitude in general that went through the minds of the generation that was above me, was bitterness toward men. And especially, I can speak about black women, I don't know about white women, but the attitude generally was, don't feel sorry for a man. Never ever feel sorry for a man. Just like men were made of rocks or bricks or something, and they're not worthy of any consideration. Just treat them as bad as they'll let you. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's real. They're like, men are made out of leather, and you can just rough them up. But a good guy that really knows his worth is not going to put up with that. And so you're going to end up with other guys who, for various reasons, will go along with that type of drama. And your relationship is going to be off kilter and full of drama. You're never going to have just a nice, normal thing like God meant it to be. So like I said, these women, they didn't have that in them. I wish they had. I wish I had been able to hear, hey, listen, go have a good time with this guy. He's a nice guy. He wants to show you a good time. He wants to host you on this event. He's going to take you out and treat you like a young lady. So go and act like one. He's going to look out for you, bring you home at the appointed time, and show you respect. Which he still fulfilled all of his duties. And even weeks later, because it used to take weeks for photographs to come back, like his aunt took pictures. I don't even remember if it was his mom or his aunt, or his mom and his aunt, and who it was that showed up when we went by their house to take pictures. Because we went double date with him, his best friend, and the girl from a different school that his best friend went to the prom with. Yeah. Oh yeah. So weeks later, because it used to take weeks to bring photographs, for photographs to, be developed and come back. He brought the pictures from the prom for me to have copies of the other set. He brought me a set of the pictures that were taken of the prom, and the pictures that we took at various people's houses and all the places that we stopped before and after the prom. I think after the prom, he probably took me straight home, to be honest. But before that, we were, yeah. So he even brought me a set of the pictures. Just because it was the right thing to do. He did the right thing when I didn't do the right thing. So, feminism and women thinking that because there may be some negative qualities in men, or there may have been some things in men that needed to be addressed, like cheating and leaving your wife and running off with other women and stuff like that. It doesn't give you the right to paint all men with that brush. And even if you do run into a man like that, we are to overcome evil. We're not to be overcome of evil, but we're to overcome evil with good. And just because someone chooses to do the wrong thing, you still have an obligation to do the right thing. To treat all men as individuals. All the good guys got lumped in and being treated and characterized as dogs. Because we as women just took on this blanket attitude and stepped out of a, godly, feminine character to just act like little gangsters and thinking it's cute. It's not cute. Just because guys put up with it, it doesn't mean it's cute. So there's a lot of good guys that were good guys and then probably became bad guys after being treated like how I treated that guy. Because evil communication corrupts good manners. And then the evil just spreads. So if you have a chance to talk to a young lady, and you may have an opportunity to prevent a disaster like the one that I created, just talk to a young lady. Be a young lady. Be feminine. Be grateful. Or be appreciative. I'm not going to say be grateful because, you're not dependent on this man to feed you. But be appreciative if someone is taking you out. If someone has invited you out to host you. Not trying to sleep with you, going to treat you with respect, spending his hard-earned money on you. I seen the thumbnail of a video recently where somebody was reposting a video that I guess a young lady posted, outraged because some guy took her to I don't know if it was like Cheesecake Factory or some restaurant like that. She was like, I'm too good for Cheesecake Factory. I also saw a video recently of a guy who was taking a young lady on a first date to, he cooked dinner for her. And she was upset. And acted a whole fool. Talking about he needed to have taken her out and spent a lot of money on her. Literally. And then regardless of how you feel about what's happening, stay inside a feminine character. Stay inside, kindness, being gracious. Because you could have it all wrong. And you could be blowing a good opportunity. And you could be turning a nice young man into the dog that you assumed he was in the first place. There's a good way to avoid dogs, and we ought to avoid dogs. We ought to avoid men that just want to sleep with you and move on. And there are ways to do that. Move very slowly. Just be a prayerful person, and God can lead and guide you in that way. Also, don't date casually. And I would suggest, if a man does want to cook you dinner and you don't know this guy very well, and you trying to be celibate and all that stuff, I wouldn't suggest that for most people that they go to a guy's house for dinner. And there, of course, could be exceptions to that. But in general, I would just say that a godly young man would understand if you do not feel comfortable just at his place like that and you don't know him like that. Just nothing personal, just this is a little bit too intimate and all that stuff. I'd rather be out in public, and I personally wouldn't go to a man's house, and I didn't, and we were not like engaged. I wouldn't go to a man's house because things happen, and even if you are engaged, if you're dating someone, you want to keep the relationship pure, and it's worth taking some extra safeguards that might not seem necessary, but when something is important, you can put 2 locks on it. All right, so I guess that's enough said. Men do have feelings. They do. Men deserve respect, just like we do. They desire respect. They're a lot more sensitive and vulnerable than what we think they are. They get hard and turn hard from being kicked around by feminism. So let's think about ourselves and try to get the young ladies around you to think about themselves. Casual dating has bruised a lot of people and abused a lot of people. It just shouldn't be done. Everything should be done like it matters. And that's the thing that's missing from casually dating around. I have more to come about these sorts of subjects later because we have to get it together. We have to get it together. We have to bring things back to a balance. So we know feminism was a trashy lie from the devil. Women were not being abused left and right. There were always good men. There were always men that loved their wives. Women always had the opportunity to choose a man that actually loves you, to get married for the right reasons, not because you're pregnant and you were, monkeying around before time, not because you just want to get out of the house because your parents are. Be patient. Wait on the Lord, endure some things, and wait for the right person. Then you don't have to talk about what a dog is, because I don't like Judge Judy, but she said this and it was correct. When women would get in there complaining about a guy that borrowed money from him and won't pay him back, and Judge Judy would say, you picked him. So let's pick better. Let's be patient. This is going to be a ground up type of thing, because so much is wrong in our mindsets that it's going to have to be line upon line and precept upon precept for us to come out of these ways of thinking, because we have been tricked by feminism. And if you've noticed, there's a swing of men to the other side where they're becoming hardened. And there's going to be a move of something in the other direction for men that's even worse than feminism. With them having these fixed ideas in their mind about women and painting all women with the same brush, to the point where they're not able to recognize a good lady, a sincere lady. And that will just cause us to have to be all the more watchful how we choose and select our mates and who we receive. And now more than ever, wait on the Lord and hear from the Lord. You don't want a guy, just like a man doesn't want to run into a feminist. And there, a lot of us were feminists without even really recognizing it. young ladies, you don't want to run into one of these guys. They're angry, they're bitter, and they're on fire with the gasoline of this manosphere talk. And while there's a lot of truth to what these men are saying, the spin that's being put on it is creating a lot of bitterness. Just like none of the women who were listening to the things that brought about feminism in the first place, how this particular woman got left by her husband, and this woman put her husband through law school, and then, you know, he left her for one of his classmates and left her with the kids. Those things happened in the 70s. They did. They happened prior to that. And it should have created watchfulness, prayerfulness, consultation with God before we select our mate, patience. But instead, it just created women that were just ready to fight, women who weren't willing to trust, and women who were not really capable of trusting, not willing to submit, not willing to be a partner, always wanting to have their own agenda and thing on the side because they really didn't believe in marriage anymore. If you're a feminist and you have feminist mindset and you don't feel like submission is the thing you ought to do, and that your husband is the unquestioned head of the household, Not that you don't have input, you absolutely have input. You're obligated. It's part of your job to share respectfully your input and your point of view, because the marriage is about both of you. But if you don't believe the man is the head of the home, and if you don't believe that God has placed his strength and authority inside that man to run and guide that home, then you don't believe in marriage anymore. And when you enter into a marriage, you're going to enter into it abusing it. And it's never going to be what it's supposed to be, and it will be that self-fulfilling prophecy. It's not going to work. All right. I hope that made some type of sense. It takes some time to teach the young ladies. I'm not saying just go running up, trusting every guy, because these guys are ruined just like we were ruined. Just like feminism ruined women, it ruined men. And now the manosphere and all this men going their own way talk is filling the men with the same type of bitterness that caused the feminist movement, because the devil's all about divide and conquer. He's all about divide and conquer. So I'm not saying just, run up and submit yourself to any old clown, because a lot of these men, they're not worthy to be leading any households. They're not capable of leading you. But if you let the Lord lead you into the man that really is for you, and if you're already in a marriage with a man that really wasn't ready for marriage, and you weren't ready for marriage because you picked him, let the Lord lead you through it with a godly, feminine character, full of grace, letting God handle it, submitting yourself to things that are not sinful. Use your influence in a gentle way with your husband. Discuss respectfully with him the things that you don't like, understanding that you cannot force him to change. So don't try to nag him into it, but there's nothing wrong with letting him know how something makes you feel. Anyway, enough said. Guys have feelings. Don't do them wrong. It's just not nice. It's bad character. Let's do better. God bless.